Hello and welcome to the Society with Fatma Shaheen at PTB World. Considering, of course, the fact that, on 23rd March has just passed, it is very important then to actually sit back and analyze that to what extent have we as a Pakistani society been able to live to the ideals that, of course, the founder of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, did set out for us, be it those emanating from inclusion for the society, be it those emanating from social justice for the society, or generally working towards a more prosperous and of course a more democratic nation, so to speak. In this regard, today on our show we'll be talking about Pakistan's societal evolution and of course the ideals or the extent to which we have been able to live up to the founder of the nation's general vision for us as a Pakistani society. In this regard, definitely we'll be talking about the most pressing issues that the Pakistani society is faced with, be it that of a women empowerment or lack thereof, be it that of educational issues, be it that of minority rights, be it that of rights of other marginalized sectors of the Pakistani society, be it persons with different disabilities or for that matter the trans community in this regard too. In this regard, generally we'll be talking about what progress have we as a Pakistani society made, what are the challenges which actually still persist in the Pakistani society when we talk about all these various social issues that Pakistan is faced with, and overall if we are seeking to work towards a more inclusive, a more equitable and definitely a more progressive Pakistan, what are the issues that we both need to work on as a society at a state level and even otherwise too. All of this today, that too with an extremely relevant panel. Let me introduce you to my today's panel. My first panelist for today's show is Tariq Rahim Saab. He's a constitutional expert alongside being a former broadcaster. Assalamu alaikum sir and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Alongside him, I have Barrister Hassan Khan, who is a legal expert. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And my third panelist for today's show is Ms. Aliza Masood Raza, who is a youth activist. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, before we start the discussion on today's topic, let's have a look at this brief report.
On March 23rd, Pakistanis around the world celebrate Pakistan Day, a day of historical significance and national pride. This day marks the Lahore Resolution of 1940, where the All India Muslim League demanded a separate nation for Muslims of the subcontinent.
On the 23rd of March, the Lahore Resolution was passed, paving the way towards the creation of Pakistan. Now, almost 77 years later, Pakistan has a population of 242 million, with a large Muslim majority and many religious minorities as well. 25% of the Pakistani flag has been dedicated to these minorities. All Pakistanis, whether they be Muslims, Hindus, male, female or transgender, should work towards unifying themselves as one. This can be done in many ways. Educational workshops can be held where people from different segments of society share their experiences, leading to more inclusivity and awareness. Minorities and differently abled people should also try to participate in politics to advocate for their rights as Pakistanis. Lastly, every community's special occasions should be respected. Long live Pakistan.
Pakistan Day is not just a celebration for Muslims. It's a day where people of all faiths and backgrounds come together to honor the diversity and unity of our nation. As we commemorate this day, it's an opportunity for us to renew our pledge to Pakistan and give back to our society. Through acts of charity, community services, and promoting inclusivity, we reaffirm our commitment to building a prosperous and inclusive Pakistan. Over time, we have witnessed remarkable progress in the protection of women and children's rights. From legislative reforms to increased awareness and advocacy, Pakistan is evolving into a more equitable and inclusive society. Furthermore, we continue to strive towards realizing the vision of our founding father, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. His ideals of unity, faith, and discipline inspire us to uphold democratic values, promote social justice, and ensure equal opportunities for all.
Reflecting on our country's societal evolution and Mr. Jinnah's vision, it's important that we recognize the importance of diversity in unity. Mr. Jinnah envisioned Pakistan as a democratic nation where people from all sorts of backgrounds live together in harmony. And that's exactly why it's our responsibility as young Pakistanis to uphold these ideals by rejecting all sorts of discrimination. It's important that we renew our pledge to our country, especially on occasions like the 14th of August and the 23rd of March. We can do that in a couple of different ways. So we could do that by involving ourselves in community service projects, tutoring underprivileged children, and perhaps, organizing cultural events to celebrate our country's rich history and diverse heritage. Remember, we're the future of our country, and it is our duty to involve ourselves in such activities. Because by doing that, we not only foster a sense of togetherness and unity within our nation, but also improve the lives of many. Pakistan Zindabad.
As we reflect our journey as a nation, let us celebrate the achievements, cherish the progress, and commit ourselves to the continued development and prosperity of Pakistan. Together, let's build a brighter future for generations to come.
Welcome back. We just saw this report. Now to get the conversation started with you, sir. When we do talk about March 23rd, we all understand the fact that this is an extremely important day, monumental day for Pakistan, because it did lay down that foundation for us to have a separate nation. But overall, how do you feel have we as a society evolved post that? There were certain ideals laid down for us as a Pakistani society, that too by the founder of the nation. Do you feel that we as a society have been able to live up to the same, be it that ideals striving to achieve more inclusivity in the society, or more equity, or even for that matter more prosperity too?
Well, there are two aspects and two ways of looking at it. On a positive side, yes, we have achieved significant success, and we as a nation have evolved a certain identity. The problems persist, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
And this is something that we need to rectify. There is the marginalized population, there are other problems, socio-economic problems, and they need to be addressed in a very serious manner for us to emerge as one of the better countries in the world.
So celebration aside of these are the issues that we need to introspect upon. That is what you mean to say essentially. Coming towards you, Hassan, I would want you to contribute to the discussion further. So when we do talk about this, more so from the viewpoint of minorities, now we do understand the fact that minorities had a very pivotal role in the formation of Pakistan as it is. And then when we consider the flag itself, we also see that the white part denotes the significance and importance of minorities. But to what extent practically do you feel have we been able to protect and empower Pakistani minorities, that too on ground?
See, Fatma, there is no denying the fact that minorities, they played an important role in the formation of Pakistan. And since the formation of Pakistan, and if you look at the legal perspective and how we have protected them, I think we have grown a lot on that issue. And as far as the minorities are concerned, our Constitution grants them a lot of rights. Now our Constitution has some generic rights and some specific rights as regards the minorities. Now if you look at the generic rights, it is enshrined in Article 21, 22 and 25 of the Constitution, which states that everyone, regardless of their religion, caste, race, gender, they should be protected. And minorities specifically, they enjoy clear and particular rights in the Constitution.
Right.
And that specifically states, it's stated in Article 36 of the Constitution and as well as Article 38 of the Constitution.
Which are the principles of policy.
Yes, and they basically state that the state has the responsibility to protect their culture, their religion and their traditions. So basically if this document protects them, every institution, every individual, every citizen in Pakistan has to follow the language of the document.
Right, on which I'll come to you, Aliza, and here we must talk about this in a social context too. So looking at it from a more socialistic perspective, do you feel that we as a society have been accepting or accommodating of minorities? Because you see, a lot of times we do understand the fact that the laws, of which barristers are very rightly so mentioned, they are there. But when it comes to their practical implementation, there might be lacunas, and only because of our societal attitudes.
I think that's a really important question to pose, simply because of the fact that what the law says and what the reality is could be fundamentally very different. We do need to understand that the state has taken up multiple initiatives, especially the National Commission of Human Rights, and then obviously some civil society organizations that have done a tremendous work in ensuring that especially the Hindu minority and the Christian minorities are empowered. So far as practically we see it in society, I think there is a lot of work being done to do that. That's one thing that I think really needs to be addressed, because of course we read the news and we see, terrible things about it. I think one of the brilliant things to talk about here as well is just how non-homogeneous Pakistan's society is and how diverse it is.
Right.
And I do think
and
that
diversity is something which then gives it strength at the end of the day, because
Absolutely.
you see there is definitely strength in diversity and unity. And when we talk about Pakistan Day particularly, or even special occasions like August 14th, we do understand the fact that yes, of course, we all come together as a society, celebrate all these special occasions. So why not ensure that spirit of zest that is practically implemented, not only in laws and policies, but also in our societal attitudes. On which, sir, I'll come to you, and drawing on from your vast experience of being a senior educationist, how do you propose can we inculcate that spirit of patriotism in young children, that too at an early age?
I think most of the Pakistanis are very patriotic, and they need to be guided and steered towards certain areas where they might be lacking. But I'm not despondent at all about them. I think they already know what the score is. They already know what is required of them. But as educationists, we have to inculcate the spirit of not only being proud Pakistanis, but also the spirit of telling people that Pakistan is there with a certain motive and a certain mission.
Right. So when we talk about educating young children, these are the things that we need to be cognizant of. In other words, teaching them the importance of social cohesion.
So
on which I would want you to add further.
I would like to add to it that, if we look at the perspective of tolerance and how we accept other people within our society, there are certain lot of examples, Fatma, which I have myself seen, that lot of people from the neighboring countries, they are coming here, they are studying. Even if they are minorities, people are accepting them open-heartedly, and they are actually studying with us in the institutions like our own citizens.
That's true.
So what is important for us to know is that, the positive side is that people all over Pakistan, they are actually very rightly living in terms with all the minorities, whether they are studying with them or whether they are living with them.
That's very rightly put by yourself, and in this regard, what is very important to then also highlight is the fact that we do see that minorities do get that leverage in terms of practicing their own customs and traditions. We even have a very specific set of minority laws that way as well. But when we talk about this from the women perspective, because when we talk about different status of the society, it's very important to talk about women too. We again understand the fact that you see women empowerment was something on which the founder of the nation really focused upon. In fact, we did see throughout his career, Fatma Jinnah was throughout with him. She was a very strong advocate of not only women empowerment, but also women being in that national sphere. So overall, if you were to then analyze, how far have we been able to live up to that gender equality narrative of the founder of the nation?
See, Fatma, there are two aspects of looking at an issue. And then we have an option of either looking at the half empty side of the glass or half full side of the glass. Now, what is important for us to know here is that how much we have progressed upon women rights. And what is important is that we have women working alongside us in our profession. They are in the judiciary as we speak. They are in the organizations which are heading
We have
the
Pakistan's
organizations.
first ever female CM
Yes,
as well.
we have the first female Chief Minister in Punjab.
Punjab.
We have women in police. So what is important for us to learn from this is that Pakistan, whatever image is going out, is actually not right. You have to be here to understand that women are standing side by side with us in all spheres of life.
Right.
Now, as far as the legal aspect is concerned, Pakistan at the national level and at the provincial level, they have enacted a lot of laws for the protection of women's rights.
True.
Now, if we look at the national level, we find a lot of legislation which basically protects their rights. Now, there are rights. If you remember, there were instances regarding acid throwing, which certainly came up, and the incidents went on happening. There has been an amendment in the criminal, by the amendment in the Pakistan Penal Code.
Right.
And through that amendment, that has been added to the hurt crime, the definition has been amended.
Right.
And that acid throwing is now part of the law, and if the person who has committed this act shall be punishable. Now, furthermore, if we move on, If you remember, there were issues regarding rape victims, and they were pretty uncomfortable in giving their statements.
True.
Now, the law says the rape victims have to be accompanied by female officers so that they feel comfortable and they can express as to what incident has happened.
Right.
Now, there has been laws in Punjab as well, and more interestingly, I was amazed that since from 2012 to 2017, Government of Punjab has taken a lot of steps for protection of women rights.
And not only that, in addition to that, we've also seen this very progressive amendment being passed with regards to harassment of women at workplace too, which then of course, you know, makes it practically easier for women to file such claims. But at the same time, not using that women card and ensuring that they don't do it in a male-fide manner as well.
Yes, and Fatma, just to add to it, if we remember, there was a woman who was heading the federal ombudsman, and I still remember that there was a famous case of a famous institution in Pakistan in which the federal ombudsman not only imposed fine on that person who committed harassment, and the person was dismissed, and more interestingly, when the appeal went to the President of Pakistan, the fine was actually doubled.
Right, Hassan. But coming towards you, Aliza, I would want you to add to this further. So when we do talk about this more so in the workplace environment context, we do understand the fact that Pakistani women in the course of working face not one rather various challenges, be it that relating to harassment, be it that relating to the fact that they complain that they don't have an equal pay for equal work too. A lot of women who do get married, have children, they say that they perhaps cannot resume work because the environment is such that it doesn't facilitate them. There is a lack of daycare centers, so to speak, as well. So overall, when it comes to addressing all these core fundamental issues, how far do you feel have we come?
I think that now that we currently, as rightly said by Hassan here, who said that we now have the next upcoming Chief Justice, first female Chief Justice of Pakistan as well, and we now actually have the first CM Punjab as well.
And in this regard, then it's very important for us to also shed light upon some of the very important initiatives that have been brought forward by the current Chief Minister Punjab, which of course include the launch of the Never Again app, and then there's also been focus on construction of hostels and daycare centers for working women too. So at a very basic level, we all appreciate the fact that these are very welcome initiatives. How do you feel can we capitalize on the same? Because at the end of the day, if we want to implement all these pro-women initiatives, do you not feel that men of the households, they have a very extremely important role to play?
I think they have an extremely important role to play, and I think that male allies is what they're actually called. And I think linking this back to the earlier discussion of the Workplace Harassment Act as well, Fatma, I think it's very important for us to know that even if you have these pro-women initiatives and even if you have these pro-women laws, ultimately, it's the societal discourse that brings about the change. It wasn't, the Workplace Harassment Act was only amended because it went to everybody's living room. It went to everybody's dining table. It was a discussion that was happening everywhere, whether it was on Facebook, whether it was on your kitchen table, and the men were facilitating that discussion as well. So I think it's very important for us to understand and realize that you must bring about social change, and it's having that discourse that's very particularly important.
Right. On which, sir, I'll come to you, and here we must talk about one very imminent problem which unfortunately still exists in the Pakistani society, which is a lack of access to the education system. And this is something which we don't see to be very glaring, not only in the urban cities, but this is something which is equally glaring in the rural areas, perhaps much more. So in this regard, sir, as a senior educationist yourself, how do you propose can we improve the masses' access to the education system?
Well, you know, women education, that is the primary focus. And even in rural areas, there have to be facilities provided for young girls to take up education. There was a time when it was almost non-existent. Women used to work in the fields, you know, helping men perform functions, but they lacked in education. And it is, you know, there is the economic factor also. When if free education is provided or very subsidized education is provided to women and they are encouraged, that will change the perspective.
Right. And in this regard, we also need to ensure at a very basic level, families of those young children who belong to the rural and remote areas, they are also given some kind of a motivation to be able to send their children to school. And in this regard, I feel girls' education is something that we need to focus on which I would want you to comment further, being the only female on the panel today. So when it comes to doing away with all those barriers to girls' education, what do you feel are the issues that we need to address? Because clearly, it is just not about infrastructural issues, it is just not about logistic issues, it is also about addressing not one, rather various gender stereotypes.
I think it's really important for us to understand that, firstly, appreciate that the situation regarding girls' education has fundamentally changed in the past 10 years, and that the state itself has tried multiple times through various initiatives to ensure that girls' education is focused on. The issues that arise are numerous. I think one of the first issues that we need to talk about is access to education, number one. Are these rural areas well equipped with these schools? The second thing is the mindset. We understand that globally we are facing an economic crisis. It's not possible for the household to function on just one person's earning, which has actually made people realize the thing that you said before, households realize that they need to educate their daughters in order for them to go to the workforce, in order for them to become economically empowered. And so there was a need for that. And that need, because of that need, we see that there has been an increase of girls in schools, which is obviously a step in the right direction.
But at the end of the day, this is something which needs to be considered in a very broader perspective, because we do see issues of child marriages very rampant too in this regard. Hassan, I would want you to deliberate on this, but from the viewpoint of being a legal expert. Now, we do understand the fact that Article 25A gives everybody that right to seek a free and compulsory education. To what extent do you feel as a lawyer has this article actually been implemented in letter and spirit?
Well, if we look at it in a social perspective right now, even if people who are working in the household as servants, you would see they belong to a very humble background, but most of them now are making sure that their children are having access to education. And I see that even the daughters of the family, they are encouraged that they should be educated. So now this is a very positive change. Now the only issue which the government, I think, needs to address is that the issue persists of ghost schools at the moment. And what I also saw in the news few days ago, that if there are any ghost schools left, the news highlights them. And so that issue is also being addressed, because government has provided facilities. Now it is for us as a nation to also come forward and put our own step in it, that we should contribute to it and we should serve our own duty as well.
Right.
So because this ghost schools have caused us what? Now, number one, the resources are there, the facilities are there, but the persons who are supposed to work, they are, if they are not there, that means it is not the fault of the state, because state is spending.
There's only so much that the state can do. It's all about effective monitoring, you see, at the end of the day, ensuring that there is due accountability where there needs to be. But moving on, when we talk about child rights per se, you see, occasions like Pakistan Day should also be that one event on which we not only renew our pledge to Pakistan, but also work towards improving the future of Pakistanis, which of course includes the Pakistani children too. So in this regard, when we talk about child rights, about child protection per se, how far do you feel have we come, and what more is it in your opinion that we need to do?
Fatma, the main issue regarding the children's rights which we were facing was, if you remember, that the rights of the children were violated by making them forcefully undergo forced marriages, and those children who were minors.
True.
So the government, it addressed that issue, and now it is an offence if a child who is a minor is made to undergo such marriage under the person who conducted that marriage, the registrar, and the head of the family. They also get prosecuted for this.
Right.
Now this is a very important development, because as far as, if you remember, the women were also forced to marry the Holy Quran in that aspect.
Right.
And that has also been now
That's been
clearly criminalized.
Yes. This was in some point in 2011, 2012, I remember. There were some amendments made.
Because this was done solely to make sure that the property remains within the family.
Right.
So now it is now criminalized, and this, you won't see this happening anymore, because the state played its part.
Right.
Now, as far as other children rights are concerned, the state has made sure that we do not have any child laborers who are working in factories under the age of 14.
Right.
Now, this is also very important, because if you would discourage that, they would divert to what? They would divert towards education. If everyone in the family would make them go to work and they would undergo such rigorous employment, then that means they would compromise on what? They would compromise on education.
Right. And also it would be very pertinent to mention that you see these safeguards for ensuring that people don't employ young children in their households. This is something which the Constitution very rightly so takes care of as well.
Yes, basically Article 11 in the Constitution, it clearly states that children under the age of 14, they should not be made to work in hazardous employments or hazardous environments. So basically it is the Constitution also which discourages that.
Right.
So, you know, so mainly children should focus on education rather than entering into such employments at such a younger age, because younger age is for them to learn, and they can only learn from schools, from education, from books, and not from entering into such kind of employment.
Also from the surroundings, because you see then again they say media is also a very big teacher that way, and this is something which needs to be used to their advantage as well. But all in all, this is something which does come with a socio-economic lens as well, because you see a lot of times, Barrister Sahab, people would want to get themselves enrolled in schools, but perhaps they might not have the resources to do so. Or in the case of a girl child, we often see that, you know, there might be socio-cultural norms which might hinder her from seeking her right to education too. So coming towards you, another important issue on which I would want you to shed light is that of the ever increasing intergenerational gap. So how do you, sir, as an educationist propose, can we work past this? Because clearly this can be a very big bone of contention amongst different generations. Do you feel that the education system is something on which we need to focus upon if we want to strive towards doing away with this gap? Or do you feel that it is the media which is then vested with this responsibility?
Well, generation gap will always be there, but the point is that how we can narrow it down,
right?
You know, within manageable proportions. One is that the parents have to be accommodating also. They must understand the younger generation and what they are thinking about. The younger generation must be inculcated a spirit of accommodation as well, and in this two aspects are important. One is that they learn from the educational institution how to respect the parents and the seniors. The second is the role of the media, and media, I think, has a pivotal role to play, because after all, what the media brings out has a certain effect on people of all generations.
Right.
So be it drama, be it talk shows, be it you know, some other form of discipline, the media has a crucial role to play.
Right, sir. On which I'll come to you, Aliza, and I would want you to comment on this further. So overall, when we do talk about ensuring that yes, Pakistani media does shape the public discourse, that too for the better, projecting Pakistan in a positive light, do you feel that it has been able to do so?
I think it had to. I think that the media is a reflection of the society. I think that as societies evolve, as societies change, newer stories come forward, newer narratives come forward. And Pakistani media has, especially in the form of dramas or in the form of TV serials, it's tried its very best to showcase the change in society as well.
And the best thing is that now, thanks to social media particularly, we are talking about issues we weren't very comfortable talking even a decade ago, issues like mental health, issues like trans rights, and so many other issues. Yes. Exactly. Hassan, how would you comment on that?
Basically, social media has had its positive role in the society as well. It has given a lot of people a lot of awareness as we speak. And those topics which were actually forbidden, now we would casually discuss them, because people have an awareness that these are part of our daily lives. And people now have a sense of comfort in discussing the topics with their family as well. So now, but social media has had its problems
as well, of course.
And the downside, you know, we were discussing it as well the other day, that in the start, when a lot of people had access to it, there were also some problems which were associated with it, such as online harassment, Then there was cyberbullying, and then there were internet fake credit cards issues, and then online problems. So these all had to be addressed.
Right.
Then that is where the state stepped in.
Right.
And then a law was made in 2016, which we call Pakistani Electronic Crimes Act, PICA as we call it.
Right.
And now it has criminalized any information that you steal from someone, which is a digital information, which is from an electronic source, or any information that you publish regarding someone, or an image, or an altered image, or anything like that, without the consent of that particular individual. That is also an offense under the PICA Act.
Right. But you see, then again, Hassan, the law itself, it's very progressive. But to be able to implement it effectively, we do need that right attitude. We need to ourselves then constrain and ensure that we as individuals make responsible and constructive usage of internet spaces.
It is basically, Fatma, a really thin line difference between balancing freedom of expression and making sure that it doesn't get out of line. So that is where it is our responsibility as well that you know, we express ourselves, but not to an extent that it starts to offend the other person or the society, or it goes against public policy.
Right.
Because we should at least, I think, act responsibly enough.
Right. So here again, it would be fair to say that the responsibility shifts back to the individuals who are actually making use of these spaces, because they in themselves need to be extremely diligent. They in themselves need to be very responsible. They need to ensure what they are doing is something which won't hurt the right and the dignity of others. Sir, I'll come to you and before we conclude today's show. So what would be your concluding message to the audience out there, especially when it comes to fostering greater unity amongst the Pakistani society, because definitely there is more strength in, you know, having more unity and more diversity too.
Yes, indeed, because interfaith harmony is very, very crucial, you know, for being tolerant. You know, tolerance comes from this. We are a diverse nation, and diversity is our strength rather than a weakness, you know. And when we add diversity to tolerance and interfaith harmony, I think there will be a progress all around.
Right, sir, your point is noted, on which I'll come to you, Hassan, before we conclude today's show. So how do you feel can we work towards not only instilling, of course, that level of patriotism in the masses at large, more particularly in the Pakistani youth, but also ensuring that young people use their minds, they use their capabilities so as to give back to the society?
So Fatma, all of us as citizens, we need to have one thing in mind, and that is being responsible.
True.
Whatever our actions are, that have an impact on the country as a whole. So one of instances, if we act irresponsibility, and that irresponsible behavior is going to tarnish the image of the country as a whole. So we doing whatever we do, we should know that our responsibility is to act with honesty and with tolerance.
Right.
And if we are intolerant, what will happen? These one-off instances, they are picked up by media, and people then start judging the whole country as a nation that we are intolerant or we are irresponsible towards others. So I think my message to everyone would be that please, we need to act responsibly, and our actions affect the country as a whole.
And actions speak louder than words, especially when it comes to their due coverage on media too, which takes me to you. And before we conclude today's show, Alize, how would you add to what, you know, Barrister Saab said, because he has raised some very valid points clearly. When we talk about ensuring that we do project Pakistan in a more progressive, in a more soft, and of course in a more positive light, how particularly do you feel can Pakistani youth do just that? There are so many misconceptions which unfortunately exist regarding our very nation, regarding of course Pakistani society. How do you feel can people like yourself dispel all these myths?
I think it's really important for the media, again, just to bring it back to the power that it has, is that there are a lot of change makers. Pakistan is a very diverse nation, and from what we've already discussed before, it's very important for us to ensure that these stories are heard. It's very important for us to sort of debunk these stereotypes, because a lot of them are, again, exaggerated and are untrue. The purpose of celebrating Pakistan Day is also to sort of understand the unity, the interfaith harmony that exists within these
The
particular
diversity.
societies, the diversities that exist. And the way that we can do that perhaps is also on a personal level, is to ensure that you perhaps go to these churches, you go to these mosques, and you do take part in their activities as well. And I think it's that capacity building that needs to be seen. And I think that is one of the ways when you talk about the community and you talk about engaging in the community and the different activities within it, that can obviously help bring about a more honest image of what Pakistan actually is.
Honest image and also resilient image by that yardstick. And in this regard, something that I would want to add to what you said is also we also project all these people doing these acts, because a lot of times you see people are doing good for the society, but unfortunately they might not get that coverage. We need to project all these young people as role models, so more and more young people are motivated so as to follow lead. On which note I would like to conclude today's show. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Ambassador Saab, and thank you so much, Ms. Alize, for your time today. Well, to conclude today's show, we generally spoke about Pakistan Day and, of course, the societal evolution that we do see happening post-Pakistan Day, 23rd March 1940. In this regard, we also spoke about not one, rather various issues that the Pakistani society is faced with. We spoke about the progressive laws and policies which actually exist, and to what extent do we actually see them being enforced in practice. If we are serious as a society to progress, then this is a responsibility which is vested upon all of us. We need to collectively strive towards working a more inclusive and definitely a more progressive Pakistan. Thank you for watching The Society. Until next time, take care and Allah Hafiz.